Iridium, hope you're doing alright today. Reviews from the car. I might actually start calling it that. I don't know, what do you think? Reviews from the car. Sounds quite good. Or car review. No, because then it'd be like I'm doing reviews on cars. Anyway, I'm in the car today because I'm at work. And I've got lots to do, review-wise, or anything-wise on the channel. And I haven't got time to do it. So I apologise for doing it in the car. But I want to give you it as quick as possible. So if I'm at work, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do reviews from the car. So we've got the new album from Hardline. So thank you very much, Frontiers Records, for sending me this to review. So it's very early. It's out on July the 9th. So heard it today. Really impressed. This album's called Heart, Mind and Soul, obviously like I said on Frontiers, produced by Alessandro Del Vecchio, 49 minutes and 35 seconds long. Just run through the band quickly, giving you a little idea of what they're doing on this record. So you've got Johnny Gioli, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, on vocals. What a brilliant job he's done on this album. Now I'm not versed in Hardline whatsoever. Even the debut, which is classed as a bit of a classic, I haven't heard it much. I've heard it in the past, but haven't really, dived deep into Hardline's catalogue whatsoever. So I'm not comparing this. I'm just going on what this album sounds like. Johnny Gioli does an absolutely brilliant job. I love his voice, man. He's got a rasp to his voice, which I love. There's a lot of soul in his voice. A brilliant job throughout the whole album. Whether he's singing a ballad, whether he's singing a bit rockier, he really shines on this album. He's a great singer. Next up, Mario Perkadenis, I hope I pronounced that right, on guitar. So I love his guitar playing, and I think it's very restrained because of the sort of music it is, melodic hard rock. He doesn't do too much over the top, but he does plenty of brilliant riffing with little fiddly bits in between. I love that when it's not just full chord progressions, when he's doing lots of little fiddly bits on the guitar as well. Does a great job on the guitar throughout. Anna Portaludi on the bass and Marco Di Salvia on the drum. So these two really hold it together well, give you a real thump and a real edge sometimes. I love there's some songs on this which I'll go into that give you a real stomp. They do a great job of that stomp throughout this album. Absolutely superb. And of course, Alessandro Del Vecchio, apart from producing the album, is also on keys throughout this album. So he does a good job as well. This isn't an album full of keys. If you're worried about that, it's guitar driven with keys there, near enough in every song, but not at the forefront. So a nice guitar album, which I love. It's produced really well. The mix is great. It's got like a heavy sound to it. The guitars sound meaty. They're proper up in the mix. So Alessandro Del Vecchio does a great job on this. It's not sort of too. Sometimes on some of these Frontiers releases, it sounds a bit formulaic and a bit too sort of machine-like, if you know what I mean. It sounds like a band, and I believe we're going to go out on tour once the crap's over with COVID. So I absolutely love this album from first listen, and I think a lot of melodic hard rock fans will. I don't know if it's an improvement on what they've done. I know that I have listened to Hardline, like I said, throughout my life, throughout their discography, listened to bits and pieces. But I suppose, I've said before, doing the channel, it's a little bit different now. I listen a bit more intently. And I've got to say, this is one of the better releases this year, by far. Kicks off with the 3 singles, actually, that I've already reacted to. And I love all 3 singles, but all 3 have got a different sort of sound. Kicking off Fuel to the Fire. Not a surprise at all, kicking off with this song, because it sounds like an opener. It's a rocker. It's got pounding bass. It's great busy guitar work going on through this song. It almost Psych-esque, John Psych-esque. Rocking song to kick off. If you want to actually check out my reaction for a bit more detail on what I think about that song, have a little listen to that on the channel. But it's a great song to kick off with. I love Fuel to the Fire. Next up is an outstanding track, and it's grown on me since my reaction. I listened to it again, obviously, reviewing this. Surrender. Another single, a great riff kicking the song off, very 80s inspired, and there's a lot of 80s inspired music on this. Maybe 80s, early 90s, sometimes some of them bands, them great bands in the early 90s. And it goes into a real cool, melodic hard rock sound. Such a great soaring chorus. One of my favourites on the album is Surrender. Next up we get the third single, If I Could, I Would. Now, my missus mentioned this when she heard me listening to this song before. And a subscriber did in the comments saying it had a really Bon Jovi feel. Vocally especially, got to agree with that. And we're not talking Bon Jovi now. We're not talking about the shit that Bon Jovi gives us now. We're talking about classic Bon Jovi. And that's not what we'll forget. It's easy to forget that Bon Jovi was such a great band because of all the years of crap that they've been releasing. You've got to remember, back in them 80s, back in those, times, they were one of the top bands for me as well. So, very, like I said, especially vocally, very Bon Jovi-ish when he was at his prime, by the way. This is more of an AOR track. Great use of piano keys out throughout this, but never overshadowing the guitars. The guitars are there all the time. So that was another single. That's the third single. So all three singles right at the beginning of the album. Now, if you was worried about all the good songs being put at the front of the album, don't worry. This album is chock full of good songs. Like That is next, another favourite of mine. This one gives me, for some reason, some Journey feels, Frontiers era especially. Part of this is coming from the guitar work. Does a great job, the guitarist, and a great catchy chorus. Good song, like that. Next up is the first ballad, Heavenly. Now this is quite a long ballad, 6 minutes and 47 seconds. Vocalist really excels during this ballad. Really great voice, and he's got that range in the chorus especially. Solo's amazing, shows real emotion in this as it should in a ballad. Again, harking back to that Bon Jovi sort of sound in the 80s. This is the ballad actually that Bon Jovi, if they brought it out now, well, I don't think they ever would. Because for one thing, the vocalist wouldn't be the same. The vocals on this are great. Bon Jovi's vocals are completely shot. But I wish they could write a song like this, I tell you. Great touch with the piano solo as well near the end before it goes into a second solo, which is also great on the guitar. So, brilliant song, Heavenly. Check that one out. Waiting for Your Fall is next. It's more of a rocker, getting into the heavier stuff now with a great riff. But it does never sacrifice melody. Every song on this album, chock full of melody throughout. Next up is The Curse. A slightly bluesy feel to this one, especially verses, but a great chorus, like it just hits the melody again with like an ascending riff. It's a good song, The Curse. Next up is another one of my favourites though, and it's Heartless. Good melodic hard rock song, great stomp to the chorus, soaring vocals again on that chorus, amazing. Heartless is a great track. Searching for Grace is next. It's sort of a semi-ballad, so it's not quite a ballad. It's a little bit harder than a ballad. It's got like a slow to medium build in it. A real dynamic song, one of my favourites. Again, vocalist that sounds a little bit John Bon Jovi-ish in his prime, though. A great solo again, such emotion. This guitarist is great on those ballads where he shows real emotion on the guitar. Next up, track 10 is 80s Moment. Well, this is very fitting actually. So it's quite a heavy song in the verses, but the chorus is very 80s, mid-80s sounding. Great chorus. Got a slightly sleazy sound as well. A little bit running through. It's a real fun track actually. And then we move on to the last track, We Belong. A bit different this one. Starts off with acoustic guitar and vocals. This guy's got such a great tone to his voice throughout this album. Although the guitar and bass do come in at a later stage, the song has the same sort of feel throughout, that sort of mellow vibe, but it's absolutely great. It's a really good finish to the album actually. I either like something like that or something a bit epic or something slow. So I like that sometimes on an album. So that's it. I've got some more Frontiers releases to do, early reviews. But I must say, I'm really impressed with this Hardline one. Any of you guys, even if you haven't got into Hardline before, or you know, maybe their stuff before this album hasn't been quite on par with the debut, that's what I'm hearing from fans, that the debut was a real classic. So if you're worried about that, basically if you love melodic hard rock with loads of melody, great vocals, great guitar, just great songwriting, check out this new album by Hardline. You will not be disappointed.